So I'm going to attempt to share the conditions that forced my evolution from photographer to creative strategist. I'll start with my location. Abuja, if you're familiar with it, is saturated with photographers. There is no shortage. I'm willing to bet that 1 in every 5 young persons either identifies as a photographer or owns a professional camera. And in my mind, Abuja could use less photographers and more people that make dope photography opportunities available for them. Which brings me to my next point. Unless you operate out of Lagos, truly interesting photography work can be hard to find. Not all photographers want to shoot events, weddings, babies, wannabe models, wannabe fashion designers, more weddings, and more events. God damn. Some crave a more creative challenge that Abuja simply does not have enough of. So I figured, instead of competing for the scarce food, for the obvious jobs, I could be the dude that creates amazing job opportunities, not just for photographers, but for filmmakers, musicians, illustrators, and other creatives that thrive in this city. And not just the job opportunities, but negotiate great fees for them as well. Because as a photographer, I know how hard it can be to get the best fee for your work. But since I have that experience, I'm in a better position to think of them. So I reasoned all these things, and I was like, you know what, this is a thing that I could do, full time. Also, early in my career, I had this very fortunate problem where people gave me more work than I could handle on my own. So I brought in friends to do the work while I managed the work. I would creative direct and give them briefs that made their work easier. And that experience let me know that I could have a future in strategy. I was like, Rodney, you're onto something here. You should dive deeper and see where this goes. Next thing is, most photographers will be quick to tell you that photography is their passion. For me, it was never that deep. What I'm passionate about is the creative lifestyle. Just being able to create, however form it comes out. Photography was simply the easiest medium to express my creativity. My good taste applies across multiple disciplines, so I've always dabbled in all kinds of forms of expression. And what this meant for me was that I didn't feel the need to hold on to something that I was outgrowing. I didn't feel conflicted. I didn't feel like I had to prove anything to anybody, or even to myself. I've always been a pro at letting go, so this came easily. This is not to say that photography is dead to me. No way. I still have my gear. I still follow the industry closely. I still shoot personally and professionally. I'm just a tad more selective with my gigs now because I am a busy man. But then, the deeper I went into my new role, the more I realized that I've grown to prefer making a difference, an impact, more than making things. I learned to love creating the culture as opposed to creating the art that represents the culture. I hope I'm making sense. So, at the beginning of my career, I loved photography. I loved to write. I loved to make music. I loved to edit and retouch photos. I loved the craftsmanship, the creative process, the thrill. But there was a point where I began to ask myself, does this help the people I work for? Or even the people I work with? So my clients, for example, they would request my services without any expert assistance, no planning, no strategy, no overarching story or idea that would make their product or service a success. It was just a matter of, hey, I have a product, I need a photographer, come and shoot. And most of these businesses now have packed up or are struggling, and my team complained of the soul-crushing, uninspiring work and lack of imagination that Abuja business people have. And this is not to throw dirt on anyone's hustle or anything, but it's just a fact. So I would ask myself the question, what can I do to be a greater impact on the lives of my clients and my team? And it dawned on me that my creative skills will be better utilized as a creative strategist, the guy who helps clients brainstorm the best possible ideas and the guy who enlists the best creatives to execute that idea. And this I could never do if I was actually doing the work, if I was doing the actual handwork. Also, and this is important, it pays way, 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 way better. That is, oh my gosh. If I'd known, I would have made the switch sooner. So now, most of my time is spent planning, brainstorming, doing vision, directing the creatives I work with, and following up on the work that needs to be done for the client. Plus, I give great feedback, so it's just a great working environment, and we're all doing the kind of work we want to see in the world. So now, I have very little time to actually create things. Although every once in a while, I indulge my inner child and I'll pick up my gear and just have some fun with it. Then I would retouch for hours. But that's more of a release than an actual paying job, if you know what I mean. It's not all been fun and games though. I've had to one-up myself, learn new skills, take online courses in marketing, branding, and everything in between to really give myself a competitive edge. My photography background gives me the experience needed to actually understand creative people in order to inspire them to do their best work. I would work with amateurs and direct them in such a way that they would just outdo themselves. They would do like 10 times the work that they would do on their own. So I was able to multiply their talent and scale up the services that I provided. That way, the client was happy, the creative is happy, and I've made an impact. Who doesn't want to live that kind of life, So, and all of this experiences, all these experiences from the past 5 years have all led up to me setting up my own creative agency that offers strategy, branding, and marketing services. We're currently 6 months old, and that's more than enough time to determine that we do have a market for our services and we can deliver on our promise. We also recently just secured our first retainer, so it's looking good right about now. In fact, as I explained this entire process to a mentor, he called it the evolution from a maker mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset. And personally, I've never fancied myself as an entrepreneur, but now I claim it. And that's evolution, yo. That is the evolution. So, what's the moral of this story? Sometimes the work you create ends up creating you. I've always been interested in marketing and advertising, but I only imagined that I'd end up getting hired to execute their ideas. But well, look at me now. Just be patient, stay true to yourself, and most importantly, pay attention. Pay attention to what you admire. Pay attention to what you envy. These things have a way of giving you the signs of the directions you need to go. Pay attention to your environment. Pay attention to everything, every challenge, every setback, every experience. It's all pointing you in the direction you should go if you're willing to listen well enough. So, that's it for today's episode. It's been a pleasure sharing this with you all, honestly. I hope you enjoyed listening half as much as I enjoyed telling it. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about the biggest source of anxiety for me in this new line of work. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast to keep up. Until next time, Rodney out.